Welcome everybody to episode 127 of The China Show. And we've got a very jam-packed one for you today. A lot of interesting developments as far as China is concerned. Some fun stuff, some crazy stuff, some pretty depressing stuff, all rolled into one. So grab that popcorn.
Yes.
Right, so shall we saunter right into it?
Yes, do it.
Okay, we're going to saunter right into it with what's new. We tell you what's happening with regards to China, mostly. So what is new in China right now?
A lot of stuff, actually.
I would like to start out with a little bit of a Chinese lesson here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call a bus?
It's a different kind of bus. 巴士, 公共汽车.
Yeah, the one that I usually like, when you talk about a bus that you get on with lots of passengers, it can be a number of names, but the one I learned in Shenzhen is 公共汽车. 公共 means public.
Yes.
So, that's why they also, I guess you have a 花花公子, you know that?
Yep.
Like a flower public boy or whatever, just means like a playboy. Anyway, so let's take a look at a little clip of a bus here. Maybe you can tell people what's happening here for those who cannot see it.
You have a bus that's getting swabbed for COVID.
Not just a bus, though.
The bus's mirror.
Just a bus's review mirror is
Yeah.
being swabbed.
The dude in the clip saying, "Have you ever seen this? Anything like this before? A vehicle getting swabbed,
Yeah.
getting nucleic acid swabbed."
I mean, isn't that just dumb?
Yeah. I mean, that's up there with like the dumbest ones. I mean,
Yeah.
the animal ones like the fish swabs and stuff is dumb because they don't have lungs.
Yeah.
These are dumb too because it's an inanimate object.
Like they swab rocks and stuff, but
Yeah.
like a rear view mirror.
A rear view mirror.
That person needs to do some reflection of their own. You know what I mean?
My reflection.
Yeah. It's like swabbing the man in the mirror, asking him to change his ways.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, it's
It's
dumb.
like he's swabbing himself. Look,
Yeah.
the dabai is swabbing himself because
Yeah.
he's swabbing his own face in the mirror.
Yeah. It's so dumb. I mean, if you were going to swab anything in a car, surely like the steering wheel or something where someone could spit on or touch.
I'm gonna say the driver probably.
Yes, but
Yeah.
the mirror that's
No.
outside the vehicle that the driver, even if you try to spit at high speed, it probably wouldn't reach.
I mean, this shows you the incompetence of Chinese leadership that still hasn't really articulated why they're doing what they're doing to their populace, other
Yeah.
than COVID bad.
Yeah, they just
it.
like test
Yeah.
everything. Oh, it's dumb. Anyway, we wanted to bring you up on this very special kind of Chinese art.
Yes.
So we have something in the background here. We thought this is...
Can I address something real quick?
Sure.
The rumor that Xi Jinping has been arrested, huge breaking news right now all over the place. We have to do way more verification before we cover that in depth. Just keep your eyes out, though. I mean, I'm not banning you guys from looking it up, but keep your eyes out. We just heard about it a few hours ago. And we can't find any verified evidence yet. But I just want you guys to know that are here live that want us to talk about it. Let us know if you see anything pop up. Maybe something will happen during the show. Who knows? But anyway, continue.
Yeah, just honestly, a lot of people will jump the gun with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's...
Not saying it's wrong.
It's sketchy at best right now.
Yeah, at best.
Yeah, so we'll rather wait until we can verify something before we go start, talking about it. Don't worry, there are a lot of other very important breaking things that we have to talk about in this show that are verified.
I said rumor, guys. Why are you all freaking out? I said it's a rumor. We don't know if it's happened. I have absolutely no idea. We haven't been able to verify it.
Yes, don't be a rumor monger. Don't fall for it.
I would like to bring it up, though, because it's going to be asked about 7,000 times during this show.
Can we get onto the more important stuff like art? Okay.
This is what's important.
Yes, seriously. Okay, I'd like everybody to take a look at what's going on here. Maybe you can explain to the viewers at home, that are listening, what's going on.
We have an artist here. I hope there's audio because I can't hear it coming through.
No, I don't. Maybe there is.
No, there needs to be audio for all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah, there's audio.
Okay, good. I don't need to hear it. I just want to make sure. Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Just making sure they could hear it. And he is dipping, I believe, what looks to be his ponytail into his hand and then making handprints. Wild, by the way. Hold on. Go back to the beginning of this clip.
Yeah, okay.
It's important that you see the separation of church and state.
Okay,
here.
sure.
The first is the state. You got him just putting his handprints down, making crap art.
Yeah, there he is, yeah.
And he's screaming each time. The anger is going at each handprint, right?
Right.
Dipping both hands in there, dipping the ponytail in there, get the drips all over the place. Boom, boom.
Nice.
Boom. Puts it down. And then goes boom, 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 boom. My favorite part is when the religious aspect comes in here. This man is like blessing the table. Woman's following, or that guy's following his hands with his phone as he films it, but he's blessing the shit artwork.
Yes, I see that.
Absolutely fantastic art. Love it. But I feel like his energy was too high.
Yes.
He's a little bit too like.
I gotta say,
aggressive.
like, as far as, art is one of those things that can just be interpreted,
Sure.
right? And that's one thing that I hate about art, to be
Right.
honest, is the fact that you can call anything
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
And you basically have to convince other people that it's art.
Yes.
So you'll get someone take a dump and they'll be like, look, that's
art.
art.
And they're like,
and it'll be like, nah. But then if some famous dude comes along, I don't know, Andy Warhol or something, and then like sprinkles a bit of paint on it, he'll say like, that is art.
art.
And then
Like,
everyone's like,
wow,
I'll
it's a
pay $1 million
Warhol.
for
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Please put it in a case because it smells horrible.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. But the fact of the matter is that what he's doing here is still okay. There's a handprint there. I can discern a couple
There's
of
something going on.
And he's doing something.
But I do feel like he's a bit aggressive, and he's got like weird eye makeup on. He's got the whole vibe. He's trying to be like, look at me, I'm artistic and edgy.
Yeah.
The next guy tones it down quite a bit.
This next guy that we're going to show you is actually very famous, and I remember
Yes.
articles about this guy,
Yeah.
and he's very well known as an artist. And this is something you got to see for yourself, because if you haven't seen it, you wouldn't believe it. All right, here he is. Look at the most amazing art that's upcoming. Not this guy.
No, this guy's just finishing off his work.
Yeah.
I love all the art guys in there that are like,
Oh, it's amazing.
wow, check this out.
Oh, give it that. Oh, it's not
Yeah,
complete
touches.
without that. You
No,
got to
for sure.
come on.
Would
One
have been
more.
worthless unless he did that.
Okay, this guy.
I love this.
Now this guy, he's basically puts in the least amount of effort. He doesn't even look at what he's doing.
That's the point of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that thinks like everything he touches turns to gold.
That's the impression I get, is that I'm so good I don't even need to look.
yeah.
you know.
He's like everything I touch is just like
Yeah.
immediately worth
That's the
a lot.
impression I get.
Let's take a look at what he has to do. It's just nonsense. Okay, but I mean, you could probably go and somebody will be like, that's cool. But wait, this one though. Okay, I'm sorry if I keep stopping it, but this.
Okay.
You've got a foreign lady there, okay, as part of
Yeah.
this massive art exhibition, okay? And
This goes international. It's not just in his
yeah,
like office with
this,
his secretary.
This is his art. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
This is what he does. I feel like my like 3-year-old kid can draw better than that. Okay, what's gonna happen now?
He's getting his stamp ready.
Oh yes, look at this beautiful artwork of mine. Oh
Hold on,
yes,
Hold on. Go back.
I'll go back. I'll
I
go
was gonna
back.
say, we might be the dicks here. Like,
Why?
you know the hashtag am I the dick?
Sure, why?
Because I was thinking, oh, this guy, what if he's blind or something? Then I realized, why is he wearing glasses?
Yeah, no, he's not blind, but he may as well be. Look at what he does here. He's literally just making scribble circles with a paintbrush.
Yes.
He even goes off the canvas multiple times.
Yes.
He's not doing a good job. That is not art.
No. But it did remind me.
Yeah, it reminded us of we should
CCP rap.
We should all remember the CCP rap where well, we'll just play it out. Take a look.
Living in this jungle world, I don't need to fare. Make some foreign friends, fight
Find
them
them
Chinese
Chinese
souvenirs.
souvenirs. Look at his painting.
Yeah, so his painting that's developing in the background is very reminiscent of that other guy. He's just random
Love what
crap.
it turned into.
Yeah.
I love that
Whoa.
it just turns into absolute blackness.
Yeah, it just turns into absolute nonsense. So yeah, I guess that this whole like move a paintbrush around until you destroy the paper underneath is kind of an art style.
It's like a theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this hat, by the way, we aren't singling China out for this. This is
No, of course it's everywhere.
everywhere.
The one thing that I need to single out though is that when you get like in China you get like proper legitimate calligraphy artists,
Yeah, like
okay?
beautiful. I bought a lot of good stuff from
And
there.
what they'll do is they'll study their whole lives and
Yeah.
they'll like develop their own special brush strokes and all that. And they do beautiful calligraphy. What this is trying to do is play off of that. So, that's why you got foreigners and stuff. Oh, look at this calligraphy master come in. He's doing nothing but going blah.
Yeah, meanwhile,
around with
there's
a
actual
paintbrush.
amazing calligraphists in China.
It's
that
like
I bought
yeah,
their works, and
yeah.
they're amazing.
It's an insult to the ink,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. We'll play that one rap one more time though.
Just keep your eye on the painting.
Yeah, look at the painting in the background.
Living in this jungle world, I don't need to fare. Make some foreign friends, fight them Chinese souvenirs. Don't be still tense, stop out the shame. Can you hear it? Feel it?
That's Sina, by the way, in the background. By the way, he's not going to be making foreign friends because it's against the CDC's guidelines in China right now, which we'll cover later.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to get into this whole you're not allowed to touch foreigners thing. That's in the main segment. But remember this creepy dude that we introduced you to last weekend?
Famous actor.
Someone on our subreddit made a fantastic little skit using him. So
just to remind, if you guys didn't see last week's episode, Liu Chao, famous actor, very creepy on Chinese TikTok. His famous catchphrase is "Zhen hao," which means very good.
Yeah.
And he looks into your soul, and he looks like he's clowned on in China and Chinese like Weibo and stuff because people think he looks like he like consumes children.
Yeah,
he's terrifying.
For sure. He is a terrifying guy. So anyway, let's show you a little bit more of him there.
My name is Liu Chao. I hope you everything good well. Good. 真好。大家好，我是陆超。I hope you everything good well。真好。大家好。
Hold on. This is a new one.
Oh, we got a new one
just
for
thought
you.
that was what is that even from, by the way?
That looks like it's from one of those Soul movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really
I
good.
thought that was a great cut. I found another Liu Chao clip. This one, he actually teaches you Chinese.
He teaches you Chinese?
While using English, yeah.
Oh, let's take a look then. This should be fascinating.
陆超 ，good， 好 ，very good， 真好。
Okay, good.
He teaches you how is good.
Yeah.
Right?
And then what do we got here?
Zhen
We got a little meme of you.
I told everyone not to make fan art. There's actually one that was even more disturbing.
Right.
This one's not disturbing. It's just funny. But apparently I'm more into geography than my wife.
You are, though, into geography big time.
Yeah.
Geography's your thing. It's like...
It is one of my things, for sure.
Everyone's got a passion. Yours is like the shape of continents, I guess.
Not so much the shape.
What position?
I do like a good Benin.
I like
a good Chad.
I catch you on those websites where they like show a screenshot and you have to guess where it's from or whatever.
Oh yeah, GeoGuessr.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Between that and aquariums. Also, I'm more interested in not really the shape of country. Actually, I do like a good shape. I do Wordle every day. Wordle is like Wordle. We have to guess the word, but you guess the country's shape. So you caught me.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Thought as much.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, let's move on, shall we? From the little memes.
Sure.
What do we have next? Oh, yes. This is a fascinating development that we have here.
I don't
China,
even know is this in China? I don't even know. It was posted by Chinese people, so I was like, yeah.
It could be China, it could be Hong Kong, it could be Singapore, it could be anywhere really. Yeah. But this I'd like to say China has invented a cutting edge mask that allows you to play a flute by cutting a hole in the middle. It's kind of funny. To be fair, I've been seeing this all over the world. Like that, guys, it's dumb. There's certain circumstances where I think you should, be able to not wear a mask.
Yeah, I didn't even think this needed commentary. It's one of those things you can look at that and you can say, yep, that's right. My Instagram post on that was right.
Yes.
That's all you need.
All right, so what's been going on over here? China lodges complaint after Biden says U.S. would defend Taiwan in a Chinese invasion.
Fourth time President Biden has said that the U.S. would defend Taiwan. Fantastic. Love it. Love to hear it. One thing I do love even more is China's response in that they lodged a complaint.
Yes.
Which, what does that even mean? Who do you lodge a complaint to?
Yeah,
it's an
to
enemy
themselves.
nation.
They're lodging a complaint to themselves.
Who are you whining to?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I want to know. I just thought this meme was kind of funny. No, you can't say you'll defend Chinese Taipei because they can't say Taiwan.
Yeah.
That would cause a direct war with the U.S. And Biden says, listen, West Taiwan, I'm going to be real with you. I don't care. And he's eating ice cream.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's an interesting development, though, which we'll get into a little later. It kind of ties into everything.
We almost made that our main topic. But honestly, the whole monkeypox thing was too funny.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we'll get into
this big news.
Explain.
So U.S. bank CEOs, you can imagine U.S. banks are quite important to China's economy.
Yes.
Why? China doesn't actually have a real currency, right? China's whole kind of economy has been based off of Western, or I should just say foreign investors, right? For a long time now.
Yeah.
When China was completely closed off, Deng Xiaoping and prior, its economy relied. It was very poor, right? It's
Sure.
a very poor country. And then when what's it called? The economic experiment with capitalism happened. A lot of companies came in. Chinese people are very hardworking and skilled already. So
Yep.
it was kind of a beautiful marriage of investment and money and a skilled populace, right?
Right.
Really brought China to where it is today.
Sure.
Now, money needs to go somewhere and come from somewhere, though, right? And unfortunately, that capital is not a reliable capital that is coming from China, right?
Well, I mean, to break it down really simply, let's just say in China there's a company and it wants to buy some raw materials, or it wants to buy chips.
Yes.
If it goes and approaches another country and it wants to buy something, it doesn't use Chinese yuan as the currency.
No.
It uses US dollars.
That's correct.
That's usually how it works. So if they want to buy a bunch of chips from Intel, they have to pay Intel with US dollars.
That's right.
So they have to buy the US dollars from America.
Correct.
Basically. So they use the American dollar as the main sort of reserve currency there.
Yes. So it was surprising to see bank CEOs say this. We will follow the guidance of the government, which has been working with China for decades. If they change their position, we will change it immediately, just like we did in Russia. And then a quote from JP Morgan Chase.
Right.
We would absolutely salute and follow what the U.S. government said. That's all of you. What you want us to do, he told the committee.
Okay.
So they would basically cut China off from the U.S. banking system at the drop of a hat, if that's the position that China was going to take in the event that it would invade Taiwan.
Yeah.
Which is it's different than when a president says it, or one party says it, or the federal government, or a state governor or something.
Yeah.
It's different when it's paired together with an economic response solidified by CEOs of banks. Right.
And that's the only kind of coercion that China will listen to be honest, is financial like that. So it's basically they're saying F around and find out.
You know what's funny?
What?
There was a semi-official response after that. I should say it's official. It was from the Chinese government that China is now willing
To do a peaceful reunification.
to go through peaceful reunification with Taiwan.
Yeah. I think they've realized, by the way, that they, for those of you who have been keeping up with the whole Taiwan situation, if you've been watching the show, Nancy Pelosi landed in Taiwan, made China super angry. They started firing missiles into the sea. They started
Killed the
live
fish.
firing it. They basically went to war with the sea life.
Yeah.
Okay.
They hated
And
the sea
they
life.
say they hated it. They were like bombing the fish and the octopuses and all that.
Coral,
octopi.
get out of there.
Yeah, get out of here, Coral. You don't even belong here.
Yeah.
Squids, you name it. Like they
Yeah.
were going after them. So they fired like live missiles all around Taiwan.
Yeah.
They sent their boats out there. They sent their planes out
Yeah.
there all around the island doing these stupid live fire exercises, which is basically like throwing a tantrum, right?
Yes.
Now, the thing is that they thought that showing this like strength would somehow make Taiwan back down,
Yeah.
or maybe show the rest of the world that, we're serious about this. But it had the opposite effect. It proved that China is a belligerent bully and really just a nuisance.
Yeah.
So now the rest of the world's like, well, you kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
Okay. And you really did. And they kept doing it. Remember, they kept extending the deadlines. And in fact, they almost successfully had a blockade around Taiwan, because those live fire zones that they're shooting missiles into and stuff, you can't like take a boat through there with cargo on it because it will get hit by missiles and stuff. So they had to make plans to go around. There's certain areas they couldn't fly their like commercial airliners through now because they're flying jets there shooting the sea. So it got to a point where Taiwan was like, look, this is actually ridiculous. And America's also like, this is kind of like a blockade. If you push it any further, this is going to be seen as an act of war.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so China's like, yeah, okay, maybe
All
we'll,
right.
we might just try.
pursue more
We'll do peaceful
means.
means, just kind of forget about that little tantrum we threw.
By the way, not in relation to any of the threats that were made. They didn't link those up, obviously, but that's clearly what's happened.
Absolutely. All right. So, hey, the banks in America are taking it seriously, and hopefully, something will be done about it.
Oh, that's a massive incentive
Yeah.
for China to not mess around.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's hope that it gets to that point where, they find out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's next? I think it's almost time for us to hit our main topic, isn't it?
Yep. We got a word from our sponsor first.
Oh, we do?
Yep.
I don't see it.
Well, you should.
I see a black
open your
screen.
eyes.
I think let's do Super Chat, and then we'll do that.
Okay.
And we'll start our next segment with the word from our sponsor. How about
Sure.
that? Like
A
fresh.
lot of you guys
Well,
David Pay says this is off topic. I am Masa Amini, so in support of the Iranian protests. Very interesting to see China's response to that.
So far.
It's evolving into, it's evolving into a position of how can we make this about the U.S. and a color revolution that America did and the CIA did
yeah, they started
instead
to
of an
blame the
actual
CIA.
protest.
Yeah, you know what? How about the fact that Iranian women are just tired of being treated like dirt
Yeah.
and being beaten to
But
death for not wearing a hijab?
Think about it.
Off your hijab.
Off your job. Number 2.
Yeah.
In China, a protest like this could never happen.
No.
So it's, of course, foreign forces that are doing this.
Yeah.
Iran's an authoritarian government just like us, says China.
Yeah.
This could never happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, good luck to the protesters anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Roman Reyes says, the title "Don't Touch Foreigners" reminds me of elementary school bullies accusing someone that they're holding hands to be spreading cooties. Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Should we just hit our next segment?
I can do the pre-show ones.
Okay.
V Diddy, I'm still perplexed by 4 students. That's the rich
Yeah.
second
Second
rich,
generation rich, yeah.
who leave China and enjoy freedoms abroad. They seem much more patriotic and defensive than middle class or working class Chinese. What type of mental gymnastics are they convinced of?
It's very simple. The reason they have money is because of party connections.
Yes,
You do not
almost always.
not almost always.
Yeah,
there's
99.99.
Yeah, there's no way that you can afford a Ferrari at the age of 21 unless daddy owns a factory or has some kind of massive a corrupt sort of relationship with the Chinese government. So, of course, all your wealth and all your power and all your reputation and everything comes from the Chinese Communist Party and taking advantage of that situation. The fact that you voted with your feet and left China to go somewhere else to buy Ferraris and screw around and throw money around kind of shows that you actually don't want to be in China. But you owe everything you have to the Communist Party of China. Of course, you're going to be nationalist because that's who your daddy is.
Correct.
Right?
That's
Whereas
correct.
middle-class people, they have to work.
Right.
And the ones that do make it overseas have worked really hard to get there. Okay? So they're less inclined to be very patriotic because they didn't just get the money given to them through CCP corruption.
That is correct.
Anyway.
Dylan Vienna says, I see the shills are trying to credit the Iran riots as a so-called color revolution.
Yep.
So I assume that's China's view. Color revolution equals dog whistle. Yes. If you see the word color revolution, that's such a dog whistle for tankies.
Yeah, they are all about color revolutions. That's what they called the Hong Kong protests. That's what they've called everything that they just don't agree with is a color revolution.
Yes.
I'm about to have a color revolution right now, unless we move on to our next
I
subject.
just want to finish the nice people that sent chats before.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to skip them.
The Callan method comes from England.
Yes, it does.
By the way, Koala says, just to give you $5 donations from the money I stole from the port of Dandong.
Oh,
That's
nice.
a stretch,
I'll
Koala.
throw that in there.
Port of Dandong.
Angry Dragon says, this guys has been a while. I've also been accused of being CIA lol. The women are starting to get more subtle with the propaganda. Will Smith says, getting jiggy with the like button. Yeah, everyone like that video. Smash it, caress it, lick it.
Now I'm really going to
Touch
have a
it.
color revolution.
Don't. What do you mean? Give me color to CC?
Yeah, that's
That
what
means
it
punch someone
Yeah.
in Chinese. Anyway,
Okay,
do
let's
it.
hit it. We're going to hit Soft Power Hour. This is where we talk about how China is using all sorts of funny ways to change your mind and hoodwink you and so on through media and through all that kind of stuff. But first, like you were saying earlier, a word from our sponsor, which, by the way, you know it's really hard for us to get sponsors. But you know what? We've noticed that these days it's easing up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
That means that the fear of retaliation from the Chinese Communist Party
It's dying down.
is dying down, which is
Yeah.
a great sign.
Fantastic. And this is a great sponsor, something we use.
Yeah, let's take a look. What do we
A lot
got?
of you guys ask what news sources are reliable and where we get some of our articles from. And the answer is it's really hard to trust news blindly these days. There's so much misinformation and political polarization and financial motivation behind media companies and coverage, not to mention manipulative algorithms that are feeding you a very non-diverse selection of news. That's why we like to use Ground News. Ground News is the world's first news comparison platform with over 50,000 sources and 60,000 news articles. And what it does is it allows you to compare them in real time. It gets rid of echo chambers and lets you be an informed critical thinker when consuming your news. You can see who owns the news company that published the article, what percentage of sources have high factuality, and what percentage have low factuality. And very importantly, you can check the bias distribution. It'll show you if it's mostly right-wing covered or left-wing covered, or if it was covered by both sides in the center equally. From there, you can also see what your news bias is by what you consume. Another thing that we like is the blind spot function. It shows you what side of the political spectrum avoided what topic. For example, mostly only the left side of the spectrum covered Biden's remarks on protecting Taiwan, but the right primarily covered China's state media suggestion of shooting down Nancy Pelosi's plane. A center-focused article that was covered by both sides was this article about Russia and China agreeing to expand security ties. You can use ground news to balance your perspective and be more aware of what side is choosing to cover or ignore what topic. So, go to ground.news/China Show to try Ground News for free, or subscribe to get access to all the features you see here and support a small team of independent media outsiders that are working to make the news more transparent. Again, that's ground.news/China Show, or click the link in the description below.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much to Ground News for sponsoring the episode. But who's this guy? He's certainly not grounded, and he's not news.
Dude, we're going to have to say World Economic Forum.
Oh, yes, I know.
Oh, boy.
WEF, Great Reset, better watch out.
Let's do it. All right, well, actually, this dude is just kind of the comedian of the episode.
Okay.
Now, we're going to do multiple parts of Soft Power Hour, by the way.
Yeah.
And I wanted to throw this in here because this is something you got to be sitting for. You got to just imagine what might
you know what
come
you
out
got to
of
do?
this guy's-
You gotta understand, China.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to just kind of like prep yourself for mental gymnastics and get ready to laugh. You
Okay.
ready for this?
Sure.
This is China's stance. This is Xie Zhenhua.
Okay, so this guy over here is called Xie Zhenhua, right?
Yes, his stance on what's happening in the world via climate change and carbon output.
Okay.
This is what he said. Europe, so the European Union, and other developed countries must take positive action to implement climate change goals as geopolitical uncertainties threaten to undermine their efforts, China's top climate envoy told his German counterpart, Xie Zhenhua, who leads China's climate negotiation. He told Germany's special climate envoy Jennifer Morgan via video link late Wednesday that global climate governance was currently facing multiple challenges and uncertainties. And this is what he says again. The climate policies of some European countries have shown a backswing, and it's hoped that this is just a temporary stopgap, he said, according to the summary of a meeting released by China's Environment Ministry. As Western countries raise coal consumption in order to offset gas supply disruptions brought about by conflict in Ukraine, China's foreign minister said in a statement that this month that its own green and low-carbon development path remained firm, in contrast with the European Union.
Wow, that's some...
I mean...
Guys,
what?
here's the thing. You've heard a lot about, and China keeps going on about, like, they've got all these green energy initiatives, right? And they have thrown a lot of money at, like, solar farms and whatever else. But it doesn't matter because at the exact same time, they keep increasing their coal-fired power plants. They keep increasing their damage to the environment, their CO2 emissions. We'll show you some graphs here, okay? It's just ridiculous, you know what I mean? It's like somebody who's throwing, like, all this trash in the river and then one day goes out and collects like 5 bottles out of the river and says, look at what I'm doing for the environment, and you're not doing anything, you know, but meanwhile they're throwing all this junk in there. Okay, so again, this is per capita net greenhouse gas emissions. China overtook pretty much the developed world in 2019.
Yeah, the OECD members. So you got like Mexico, Chile, Ireland, Luxembourg, Belgium, Iceland, Finland, Sweden, Australia, France, Japan. Big countries, right?
Yeah.
And this is when, in 2019, is when they overtook this huge conglomeration of countries. But in, I think it was 2020, is when they kind of overtook everyone combined.
Yes.
Like all of the main countries combined. If you threw them all in a bag, China
Yeah.
eclipsed that.
I mean, I actually put something on my Twitter, which, let me just find it here quickly. Okay, here it is. There's this big argument, and I just wanted to nip this in the bud. People say per capita, right? we all understand what per capita means, per person. So, yes, China pollutes more than all other countries combined, but because they got such a large population, people like divide it up and they say, well, per capita, it's less than the USA. In other words, okay, think about it this way. If you've got 10 people that are polluting 100 tons into the atmosphere, and you've got 100 people putting 100 tons into the atmosphere, you would say that the 100 people are polluting less, even though it's the same amount of pollution. You get what I'm saying here?
Yes.
But it's actually a bunch of BS because, let's see. The world's top 5 polluters were responsible for 60% of the global emissions in 2019. China alone generated about the same amount of CO2 as the next 4 countries combined, and its carbon output is still rising every year. China's emissions were so vast that its biggest companies, few of which are household names, create more pollution than entire nations. China Baowu, the world's top steelmaker, put out more CO2 into the atmosphere last year than Pakistan. Okay? That's one. So you see,
One company.
it's not the people of China. You can't say per capita because if you've, like us, traveled around China, you go to the rural areas where you've got a huge part, like 50% of the population are living very simple lives and cannot put any emissions out unless they're farting a lot.
Right.
Because they're literally living in like a mud house or a very simple house. They're doing some farming.
Not consuming much.
They don't have cars.
Yeah.
They're not creating pollution. All right, they're not. This per capita thing is rubbish because a huge percentage of the population just aren't emitting anything.
Right.
It's a very small percentage of China's population. It's actually these big companies. These state-owned companies and these factories and this outsourced stuff. Those are the ones.
Yes.
So when you actually see that China is creating more pollution than the entire world combined, it's not the whole of China. It's a very small part. It's these very bad state-run steel companies and things like that. It's the factories that have been outsourced, because like in America, you're not making anything here anymore. So you outsource it to an irresponsible factory.
Yeah.
That's the problem is you can blame America for outsourcing it to China, but it's actually the irresponsible companies that don't follow any kind of guidelines.
No.
So they won't have proper CO2 scrubbers or whatever. They'll just throw pollutants into the rivers and stuff. They do whatever they want just
Dirty
to...
coal.
Yeah, and they do this like shortcut shit just so that they can get the job done
Correct.
quickly and cheaply, and it's at the detriment to the environment because they're irresponsible. If you were to outsource that factory to a responsible country, it would be way less.
Not only that, they would even if they didn't have the means to make it clean or to reduce the carbon. Those countries would most likely allow the foreign countries to come in and audit and check those things.
Yes.
Right. Whereas China oftentimes doesn't allow that at all. There's no oversight.
Yeah, here's another one. Take state-owned oil giant Sinopec Group, one of its subsidiaries, China Petroleum and Chemical. So just one of its subsidiaries. Okay, China Petroleum and Chemical contributed more to global warming last year than Canada.
Yeah.
Just one subsidiary of Sinopec Group.
Yes.
More
One
than
subsidiary of Sinopec.
Yes.
Not Sinopec.
More than Canada. So, when China comes out and like, oh, Canada and all these developed
They
countries.
sing the national anthem? Oh, Canada?
Yeah, oh, Canada. Thank you for giving us all this real estate that we can funnel
Wash
all our
money
money
through.
laundering through. We love you so much and, hope you guys suffer and can never afford a house. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, other than the fact that, Canada could set a swarm of auroras, in there to take care of it. But anyway.
They'll surveil everything.
They will. One subsidiary was more than Canada. All right. And so this article goes on and on. If you want to read this article, it's on my Twitter. But the fact of the matter is that when people come in with their but my per capita argument, it's bullshit. It's a few Chinese factories and Chinese state-owned companies that are polluting more than the entire world, entire nations.
Yes.
So, the fact that you've got that one company, that one steel company is polluting more than Pakistan.
Yeah.
Okay? One company.
One.
It's not all those farmers in the countryside. So you can't say per capita. You should say per company or something. I don't know.
Company, yeah.
But it's China's irresponsible management of these very bad polluters, these very bad actors that causes this problem. And that's why China pollutes more than the rest of the world. So for them to combined. It's for them to come and try and say to the EU, hey, you better watch out and better do something about that is bullshit.
No. I mean, it's just obscene.
It's just, it's bullshit. I just have to say it. Excuse my French, even though that's not French. What is French for cow?
Oh, cow? Why would it be cow?
Or bull, you know?
Oh, I thought you would want to say shit.
No, that's mierda or something like
Yeah,
that.
no.
So
it's
what?
Mad or some shit like
I'm
that.
just like, if I'm gonna say excuse my French, I want to say it properly.
Excuse your French bullshit would be connerie.
Okay, excuse my connerie. I don't know how to say French. Excuse me.
Connerie.
Especially since there's tons of Canadians watching. I don't want to offend them. Let's move on.
All Canadians can take it.
Yeah, I know they can. The Aurora will come to save them. Okay, so let's move on to the actual main topic, which is don't touch foreigners.
Yes. Don't do it.
Here's the thing, guys. Xenophobia in China it's always been there. Okay, and it's been there, and it's a tool that the government turns on and off.
Correct.
You know, ever since what they call the century of humiliation, they've now sometimes call it the 200 years of humiliation, whatever.
Up in the ante, eh?
Dates back to the Opium Wars and all that kind of stuff, right? They always use this whole idea that foreigners are the ones that came in and like bullied us and caused us all the problems that we have, right? And they use that as a tool. So whenever the Chinese government fails, all they need to do is say, oh, it's foreigners' fault. And it's always been foreigners' faults. You know? That's why they're always pointing the blame at the outside world for everything. So monkeypox, right?
Yeah.
Now, monkeypox, as we know, is a terrible disease that spreads around specifically through unprotected sex. And it seems to be in the gay community. It's spreading a lot. But it's spreading everywhere, you know, something to be watching out for. And of course, China with its zero COVID policy has been so paranoid about any kind of disease that spreads these days. They've been very happy to report that they don't have any monkeypox outbreaks. And so
it's very important that China has an official declaration that they avoid all these things that plague other countries,
Yes.
basically.
Now, here's the thing, though. It's not like monkeypox is actually rarely plaguing other countries. It's not the same as COVID-19. It's awful. It's terrible. But, you know, it's not as big as it's being made out in the news. All right? You do.
Yeah, it's kind of calmed down.
Yeah, it's not like it's affecting every person.
No.
But, you know, if you were to read the news, let's be fair, you would think that the whole of New York has monkeypox.
Sure.
You know, and I guess that's what they're projecting in China as well through the news is look at all the cases in New York. Look at America's fallen to monkeypox, right?
I think that media coverage is definitely slowed down is my point. That's like old. Like, that's not like that anymore. You turn on the news, you don't hear about monkeypox anymore.
No, you don't. But the thing is you do in China because remember, they like to build this fear of the outside world. They like to basically try and prevent anyone from having the idea that moving overseas is a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, and they also want to try and bring as many overseas Chinese people that might have naturalized overseas to come back to China.
That's a big push right now.
Yeah, so they're saying things like, oh, don't stay in America. It's got monkeypox and other weird things. Come back to our safe China where we've got zero COVID. There's nothing to worry about here. You know, you're free from disease type thing. You know, that's kind of the vibe that's going on. So anyway, it turns out, at least from the insiders that told me, who were on the same plane, by the way, as the guy who came back, who had monkeypox.
Oh, is that the deal?
Yeah. Somebody who was on the same plane reached out to me, doesn't want to be identified.
Oh, interesting.
It was a Chinese national that brought it back in.
I knew that part.
Yeah, but right in the beginning, they didn't want anyone to know that.
Oh, okay.
So like right in the beginning, he reached out to me, said, yeah, it was a Chinese national that came back. He was on the same plane. So a Chinese national who was overseas doing some stuff, playing around a little bit, you know, who knows, picked up monkeypox. He ended back up in China as the first, you know, example of monkeypox in the country. Okay. What happens? You got this guy. What's his name again?
This guy? I have it written down. Wu Zunyo.
Yeah, Wu Zunyo. Came out and basically told everyone that...
his name's
I can see it. Look, we're in front of it.
In front of it.
Yeah. So anyway, he came out and his solution was,
yes,
if you know, in order to avoid getting monkeypox, is don't touch foreigners. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a Chinese national that brought it in.
Yeah.
It shows you how the xenophobia works, right?
Also, that's not how you get it. You don't just
you
don't go like this and you get monkeypox.
I don't know. I still wouldn't want to touch someone with monkeypox. It looks kind of gross.
Obviously.
Someone looks like with, you know, Looks like he's got smallpox or something.
Sure.
you know?
It's related, isn't it?
You're not like, oh, could I touch that?
Well, wait. Because the other day when I saw a case, I said, "Do you mind if I squeeze that a little bit?
Yeah,
I just want to see what it
I
feels
don't know,
like.
what does it taste like? You know? Ugh.
Can you open the sore?
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to want to. I'm just saying, right?
Yes.
Enough.
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah, awful disease. Anyone who's suffering from it, I hope you recover very
horrible,
quickly.
yeah.
It's disgusting.
Thankfully, it doesn't have the same, like mortality rate that COVID did initially.
Yeah.
Anyway, can we get into the meat of this?
Sure.
So, monkeypox is obviously the scourge of the immoral West, according to the Chinese government, right?
Yes.
And we, as good Chinese people, upstanding people that have great disease prevention, the head of the CDC epidemiologist dude is obviously going to say that we know how to take care of it, and the problem is from the outside. It's the state narrative, so don't touch anyone from the outside. Let's look at this statement.
Okay. By the way, don't ever touch someone and lick your finger because it might just be.
That's actually what the state doesn't want you to know is it could be how
So what is this? What is this statement exactly that he put out?
Scroll past this out of order. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. It's very important.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get us out of that.
This is. I'll read
So
the
just in
translation.
case anyone thinks we're twisting the words of the,
Yes.
this is, by the way, the official CDC. What is it? What is his title? He's the
He's
chief
chief
epidemiologist. So it's a chief epidemiologist or epidemiologist of the Chinese Center for Disease Control.
So you can imagine he had something.
It's like
to do-
Fauci or something,
Yes, exactly. You can imagine he has quite the role to fill when it came to COVID. So we'll come back to
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Says Wu Zunyo on how to prevent monkeypox infection. September 16th, Chongqing City confirmed a case of imported monkeypox cases. Man, Chongqing just not a great place.
No, Chongqing, no, let's see, what's going
That's
on?
a bit of a dog whistle when you hear that city. Wu Zunyo, the chief expert of Chinese epidemic disease control and prevention, explained monkeypox on Weibo on Wednesday. Now, Weibo is Twitter of China. He suggested, one, do not have direct skin contact with foreigners.
Now, before anyone says anything weird here, okay? The first thing that he says, his first point, okay, his number one. So this is the most important one. Why would you make this first, right? The first one
state
means it's the
narrative.
most. No, I'm just saying the first point.
Yeah.
If you're going to lay out suggestions,
Because that's the only thing
is
they
the
care
most
about.
important
They
one.
don't care about monkeypox.
No,
they
no.
care about ostracizing the
Yeah,
outside
but what I'm
world.
saying is if you're going to make a
Yes.
list of things to do,
Yes.
the first one on the list is the most important. And he said, do not touch foreigners. Okay, do not have direct skin contact with foreigners. In other words, touch them.
Right.
For those of you who might think, oh, he just meant people that are, coming from outside of China. No, it says Wai Guo Rin.
Yes.
Okay? And if you know Chinese, Wai Guo Rin means somebody who's not Chinese.
Yes.
In fact, they still call us Wai Guo Rin here. Okay, and it pisses me off to no end because if you go to a supermarket in, like an Asian supermarket in the USA, and you overhear people talking about the locals, they will say Wai Guo Rin.
Yeah.
So
Some of them.
yeah, I've heard it a lot.
Yes.
So I don't like being called a foreigner. I mean, I technically am a foreigner.
not.
Yeah, I am a foreigner in America, so I guess it's okay. But for you, it's,
Yeah, for me,
they're
it's
calling
like,
us foreigners. It's like, get out of here, man.
no.
Come on. Who's, don't do that.
I don't call them a foreigner.
No.
Anyway.
The fact of the matter is, Wai Guo Rin means not Chinese. So they have other words for Chinese people that are overseas, like Hua Ren, Hua Qiao,
Yeah.
okay? They've got other words for that. So even if it's a Chinese person who has immigrated and actually naturalized and become American, they will not be called a Wai Guo Ren. They will still be called a Hua Qiao or a Hua Ren or something along those lines. So Wai Guo Ren means somebody who is of a different race, someone who looks different to a Chinese person. Okay, so it's not, just don't get it confused. It's not like they're saying, oh, anyone from the outside of the country, right? They mean not Chinese.
That's correct.
So that's number one. Do not make skin contact. And I got to say that this is one of the most xenophobic, racist ass things to say. I'm from South Africa, and during the apartheid years, there was no one saying that you cannot shake hands with someone from another race.
Right.
All right? It's worse than the apartheid government here when it comes to this is an official statement. Do not touch foreigners.
Right.
Do not touch people of another race is what's being said here.
Right.
It's disgusting. CDC, head of the CDC. It's like if Fauci came out and said, don't touch Mexicans or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's awful. It's racist. It's xenophobic. It's garbage.
Yeah.
You know?
Says, do not have skin contact with people who have recently returned from abroad within 3 weeks. Do not have skin-to-skin contact with strangers. Pay attention to hand hygiene.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
I mean, everyone starts out as a stranger, right?
Yeah.
So that just means you can't ever have a relationship. You can't
Here's the
shake
deal.
someone's hand.
You know what you can do?
What?
You can have full contact with someone with monkeypox, as long as they're not a stranger.
Yeah, there we go.
As long as you know them.
Yeah, you
That's
know
fine.
them. I mean, like you're striking out a business deal, right? And there's a guy, and you're not allowed to shake his hand. Oh, you know, my CDC said I can't.
Buy me a drink first.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then they
Let's
have a drink. And
yeah.
he's
Tell
like,
me,
"All
what are
right."
your hobbies?
And then the
Yeah.
tongues come out.
But I mean, seriously, yeah. Let's get to know each other a little. Sit down, have a drink.
You mind if I lick those sores?
Gross. And you're like, okay, cool. Like now I know what you enjoy. No, we're not strangers anymore. I'll shake your hand.
All right. Yeah, that's how it works.
Nonsense, yeah.
It says, pay attention to hand hygiene. Use of public toilets, including toilets in hotels for business travel. If a toilet is used, use disposable toilet paper as much as possible. Now, before you laugh at disposable toilet paper, it just means toilet paper. It's just the direct translation. It would be funny, though, if you didn't speak Chinese and you read that as disposable toilet paper, because you'd think, well, what's the non-disposable toilet paper kind? Do I carry a freaking cloth around?
I think is he not talking about those toilet
Yes.
seats?
No.
Okay.
No.
It was a show.
If conditions do not
show.
permit, you can use alcohol wet paper towels or paper towels dipped in hot water. Gotta bring the hot water
Yep.
to wipe before using. Hot water is the cure-all
Yes.
in China.
So that's a direct translation.
Yes.
All right. As to what he said, that's even from the Global Times, which is the Chinese state, official media. So it's not something we made up. Okay, that's
Right.
what it is. So remember, number one, no skin-to-skin contact with foreigners.
Yes.
All right. That's China's advice to avoid monkeypox.
Correct.
You know, it's actually horrible because this whole blaming foreigners for everything and foreigners are like a virus and a disease has led to some of my friends in China being called a virus. Okay? Seriously, people avoiding them. Oh,
Yep.
it's a foreigner. They must have COVID.
Yep.
You are a virus. Get out of China. That kind of thing.
Yep.
I've had that. Like some friends of mine have had that shouted at them in China on the
Yes.
streets. Okay? It's led, if your government is force feeding you this crap all the time, you're going to internalize it, right?
Of
And you're going to
course.
think it's okay to behave that way because that's what CDC man said, right?
CDC man. It's
CDC.
like the worst
You know, I
superhero
actually
ever.
have a little excerpt from the end of his speech, by the way, that I wanted to share with everyone here.
Sure.
Okay? So, right at the end of the speech, he said this.
You got the touch! Yeah!
Wow.
That's what he said.
That's incredible. So he has the touch, or who has the touch?
Foreigners have the touch.
Oh, foreigners have the touch.
You got the touch.
You ever see Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
Yeah, I did.
You know about what it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they do that thing where that gross piece of cheese is on the floor of the
Oh,
playground.
right,
and
right,
You get
yeah.
the cheese touch, and
Right.
then you have to pass it on to someone else. It's kind of like that.
It's that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically just stupid schoolyard crap. Anyway,
He does have a beautiful voice, though. It's almost like he was in a band, like a glam rock band from the 80s or something.
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
like a hair metal type band.
yeah, definitely was.
Epic voice.
Yeah, it certainly does. By the way, before we even continue with this, guys, we've got some new little sound bites that we just had to show you. So I just wanted to
Just do it!
do it, right?
Yes.
We have a fantastic clip. Now, we've shown it before, long time ago, but we have a fantastic clip that we're going to show you in Yamcha today, okay?
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely...
Well, most of you have probably seen it.
But
to
in
be
case
fair,
you
but it's a
haven't.
great refresher.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, and no, we've never shown the whole version.
no, we
This
haven't.
the
This is,
uncut
yeah,
version.
we got an uncut version.
See? Are you convinced?
Yeah, are you convinced?
I am. I can't
That's
wait.
good. All right, but you know what?
You got the touch!
Sorry, I don't want to show that again. I'll figure it out by the end.
Sorry, he's got
Yeah.
the touch. We're still talking about this. So.
Yes, we are. Anyway, we have to go back, don't we? We have to go back to
Yes.
the beginning.
Back to the beginning. So,
Okay.
if you guys remember, do you remember when the
Yeah.
coronavirus started in Wuhan, right? And near the Huanan seafood market?
Yes.
I found an old interview.
And this is
With-
kind of important, actually.
Yeah, I found an old interview with Wu Zunyo and also.
Wait, don't just.
Okay,
It's a
yeah.
surprise. It's a surprise. So
He's gonna show up first. So
okay, then we'll know. But let's go back And
Back
let's
to
take a look.
2021.
Yes.
And
A
they were
World
looking
Health
for the
Organization
origins.
team is in Wuhan to explore the origin of the virus.
There's been a lot of blame being put around about this pandemic. It originated somewhere.
Oh, who's that? Oh, it's our good old friend Peter.
Now we'd find him again.
Yeah, good old Ballsack is back. Well,
Well,
back
this is
from the
old.
past. He's come back to the future.
Anyway, this is in the same interview with
Yeah.
Wu Zunyao, which is the epidemiologist in the
So
CDC.
this is the same guy who said don't
The
touch
first
foreigners.
cluster of
Yes.
cases traced to a market.
Why has the data not been shared?
No, they didn't isolate the virus. That's
There he is.
the issue.
What about live animal samples?
It doesn't tell you anything if they only test positive. I do not suspect it's coming from what we originally thought.
There he is.
So
he's been running defense since day one for
Yeah.
the Chinese government. He's basically, imagine, a actual peon of state narrative for Xi Jinping.
Mm-hmm.
And they released him out in the wild to go do interviews with foreign journalists to say that it didn't come from Wuhan, didn't come from China. And then he's running defense now by saying, don't get monkeypox by not touching foreigners.
that's right.
So I wanted to read you something real quick.
Go ahead.
So there's some Chinese netizens, right, that have been
Yeah.
translated here. A Chinese netizen posted a question that was upvoted quite a bit, right?
Okay.
And they said, they basically said, what about foreigners that have been living in China for a long time?
Yes.
Right? Like, why would they have monkeypox? It doesn't make any sense. They've been
Sure.
isolated in China, right? But he refused to answer that. And then when journalists picked up on that comment, they reached out and he refused to respond to that as well.
See, that's a problem. The people I was telling you about earlier that have been called a virus, and
Yeah.
people have been like avoiding them. In other words, like walking to the other side of the road, or you know, just treating them very badly and poorly, and calling the security on them just because they're a foreigner sitting there.
Yeah.
These are the people that never left China.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the people that sat through those lockdowns. Like one of them is a guy who sat for like 2 months in his apartment in Shanghai during this stupid lockdown. He's still being called a virus.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He did everything everyone else did, the daily nucleic
Yeah.
acid tests.
Yep.
You know, the inside of his nose is raw from that crap, you know? He's been doing everything, but yet he's a virus because he's a foreigner. It's because this kind of crap.
It's
you know?
it's on purpose. It's not a mistake. It's not like,
No.
oh, we used kind of inflammatory language by accident. It's to ostracize the foreign countries that aren't China from China. The ultimate goal, no matter what you hear, and I say this over and over again, but I think it's really important. The ultimate goal of the Chinese government before they close off completely North Korea style is to make sure that the people hate the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Despite what the Chinese government says on a global stage, it says we want to be a part of the international community.
Yeah.
We want to be friends. We want to be partners. We want to participate in all of these global alliances and partnerships. What they actually mean is we want all the benefits from those things. We want to dictate what people can and can't do, and we want our own people to hate you.
And we want to take advantage of every loophole and every little thing that we
Yes.
can.
And, But at the end of the day, we want our own people in China to hate you and distrust you.
That's
That's
right.
actually what this means.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind when you're trying to treat the Chinese government as an equal. You can't because they think that you're subhuman.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
it's state policy.
this is connected as well. And this is kind of interesting. Something that's worth thinking about and talking about over here is this.
This is interesting. This is from that Breaking Points show with those two. There's a woman and a man. They do this like kind of center news. It's like what is it called?
Non-partisan?
No. Non-establishment.
Okay.
Anyway.
So what? Does that mean it's like alternative?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Brain Force?
No.
Okay.
I looked him up. Actually, looks pretty decent.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it was very interesting because I chased this up too.
Sure.
After he put this out on Instagram.
Is it? So you did some fact checking?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
you
I
want
care
to just
about-
read this. I honestly, I don't even want to explain it. I want you to read it, and I want people to think about it.
Okay. Evergrande, we all know Evergrande, right?
Yes.
Evergrande's that massive real estate company, which recently has just kind of fallen into a lot of problems. But anyway, Evergrande, a company with close ties to the Chinese Communist Party, donated $115 million to Harvard Medical School. Days after the donation, Harvard-linked experts, some who had proposed a lab leak origin, suddenly changed their position, condemning the lab leak idea. That's
You guys,
interesting.
you've been recently hearing that the lab leak theory is being not as favored by the scientific community right now, and it's based on one or two things.
Yeah.
You now know, based on this, where that came from.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very interesting, and I'm glad some people are pointing it out that are not just us.
Yeah, you know, as somebody who's not a scientist, but somebody who's interested in science myself, to me, the idea of a lab leak is a very credible one, and one that needs to be thoroughly investigated.
Yeah.
In fact, it would be my first go-to. All right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that there's been so much pushback against this lab leak theory, which is a common sense theory that even someone who just doesn't know anything about science and just knows about, like, hey, if you go to a nuclear waste dump site, you might get sick, you know, something like that, would understand that the possibility of a lab leak is very high and it must be exhaustively investigated first. It's the first thing you should look at.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's been so much pushback against it, people have been called conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
People have been labeled as nutty if they try to even go down this path.
Yes.
Scientists who should have common sense and say, yeah, let's check it out, are turning their backs on this idea, shows you that there's a huge motivation for someone or some entity not to pursue this theory. And this is, again, proof.
By the way, I wanted to shout out Peter Santinello, my friend that actually sent me this, put me onto this. Great YouTuber, great YouTube channel.
It's excellent. So, guys, you know, seriously, though, what a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
China is using money to just basically buy people's opinions, you know, change narratives.
It's still happening.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty awful.
Yeah.
Cool. By the way, look into that, guys. Go take a look for yourself, verify it, and make sure. But yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to do a little Shaban Ho plug?
Yeah.
I think we're going to do a Shaban Ho plug. Everybody, if you don't know.
Yeah, we have a show on Monday.
We have a show. It's a patron exclusive show, but we'll just show you, and you can decide whether or not you want to come and join. Let's take a look. It'll get there. Someday. Whenever this... Whoa, there's a church here in China.
It's called Chinese religion. Man, China throws the book at these people.
Yeah, I have a spiritual snack, thank you.
Little like pictures of Jesus and Mary and stuff.
Wafer and wine. I stopped drinking it and those things went away.
Yeah, see, now you're going to hell.
F that. The wine and snacks available 24/7.
People will get murdered.
I'm hankering for a bit of the body of Christ.
One of the worst Catholic churches I've seen.
Go into a flower pot and like eat the dirt.
That the CCP runs the church.
F all of that.
More chemicals than water.
That thing's got more chemicals than the Rolling Stones.
I mean, it's a CCP church.
Basically, you pray to the Communist Party of China.
Actually ate pig intestines.
Some people are judgmental, you know. So, I mean, if you're a religious person, China's not the place for you. Yeah, guys, so for those of you who are unaware, that is our show. And it's a lot of fun. It's kind of an off-the-books thing. We spoke about these churches that we'd found in China, showed some footage, and the fact that they've all been knocked down and basically how it all works.
Talked about religion in general, how it's managed.
Yeah, in China.
How it's changed. John Blair says, Shaban Ho is fun as hell. I'd recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love it. It's a fantastic thing, and you guys definitely should join if you have the means. Go to.
Oh, yeah. Did you pay him for that testimonial?
No.
I thought
that wasn't. No.
Of course not, yeah. Don't you just hate paid testimonials?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry.
That was a free testimonial.
Yeah, thank you. Your check's in the mail. Just kidding.
No.
Just kidding. Yeah, go to patreon.com/ADV podcasts. If you want to join the Shaban Ho tier, you can watch us live every Monday for Shaban Ho. And of course, you'll have access to all the previous episodes. They're a lot of fun. It's a lot more off the cuff. We usually dig through some of our old photos and footage and show you something that you'll never see on any of our channels or here. It's kind of fun. It's like a little VIP club.
It's fantastic. It's like I can't recommend it enough if you have the opportunity. Everyone that comes in there has such a good time, and we have a great time. And the more people we add to the show, and the more kind of feedback and interaction we have, the more fun it is.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
Should we move into our next segment?
Yeah.
Okay, Wu Mao Corner. You know that's where we talk about the haters and what they're up to and all the nonsense. And this is kind of Wu Mao, is it?
I mean, listen.
Would you say it's Wu Mao? It's
Wu
kind
Mao
of
Corner. You ask me this every time, and it's almost like you don't listen to my response.
Right, because I'm waiting for one that I like. What is it?
Wu Mao reading like bullshit comments about like, oh, you are bad because CCP is good comments isn't actually interesting, right?
No, of course
it's
not.
morphed into something else. And Wu Mao, I like to explain, is when the government tells the people to do something,
Yes.
this is what's happening.
Well, that's
the outcomes.
the whole point of this whole segment is that the way the Wumao react and the different narratives that they choose
yes.
to take,
Yes.
it shows you what the Chinese government is trying to do.
Yes.
It's the funnest thing to watch, actually. You see how it evolves. And, recently they'll do things like, oh, I absolutely agree with everything
Yeah.
you say in this video. However,
It's like an evolution. Right?
then they'll be like, however, this might not be
Yeah.
correct. And
Yeah.
then they try to like disassemble your argument to
Yeah.
basically say you don't know anything and that you
The,
suck.
the new thing, it's very clear, is not them even talking about China necessarily. It's them saying, oh, yeah, but Democrats are bad. Oh, yeah, but Republicans are bad. And what they're doing is sowing hatred. Division. And then after that, they'll insert some comments. Oh, yeah, at least China's not doing that. And they're like, oh, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, I've got
it's like
it.
fake dialogue.
Recently, I'd had a bit of a hinkling about that. Anyway, let's
me too.
yeah,
Me too.
let's take a look,
too.
guys.
Something about light switch.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, what do we got going on here? This is a study, and you love studies, so maybe you can
I'm
tell
a
us
big
about this.
studyman.
Yeah, I know you are.
I'm a studious gentleman.
Right. Well,
yeah,
you like
this is
reading other
actually
people's studies.
fascinating.
What
Yeah.
is this?
This is a study that they did, and I thought it was absolutely fascinating how they did it.
Okay.
What they did was they would go to different countries, and they'd leave wallets around, right?
Yeah.
There would be empty ones, control wallets, right? And then they'd have wallets with $13 in them. Now this was adjusted based on the country they're in, so it was $13 in the U.S., right? But that would mean something else in a different country, right?
Yeah.
They would adjust it for the person's
Like a
local wage.
million Zimbabwean pesos or whatever.
Yeah, but it's
dollar.
not even that. That might only be $1, right? But it's whatever that equivalent would be your purchasing
Yeah.
power in that
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
the
that's
PPP,
what I mean,
purchasing power parity. And I thought this is interesting because they wanted to find out what percentage of people would report the lost wallet, right?
Okay.
So on the left here with the orange dot, this is if the wallet had no money in it. And the red dot is
if there was
it
money.
had the $13 equivalent in it, right?
Okay.
So and you had high trust societies at the top. You had Switzerland, where you had
So
over
80%.
over 80% of people in Switzerland.
By the way, the way they
reporting
did this, correct me if I'm wrong, but they only recorded the wallets that were actually, returned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, if somebody looked at a wallet and walked by, that didn't count in the study.
Right.
It was the people that interacted with the
So
wallet
if somebody picked up a wallet.
and kept it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because they're watching these wallets and they put the same amount of wallets in every country.
Yes.
It's not like it was, and so what they do is they'd watch. So if people walk past, doesn't matter. But if someone picked up the wallet, then they'd see if it was returned or not later or reported later.
Yes.
Okay. So Switzerland, of course, looks like 80%
If
of.
it had money. And
yeah.
the curious thing about this was interesting. If the wallet had money on it,
Yeah.
in every country, it was more likely to be reported.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
That's crazy. I mean, it looks like Denmark did the best on this test.
Yeah, for the wallet with the money.
Yeah. With the one without
Denmark and
money,
Sweden.
they're like, sweet, free wallet.
I mean, to be fair, it's still overwhelmingly reported.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, you get lower. I thought the UK and the United States were interesting because it was vastly more reported if it had money in it.
Yes, yeah.
Which was crazy.
I mean, it looks like in America, it's like 60% thereabouts, like 58%,
Yeah.
60%. And UK is actually 65%, it looks like.
if it had money.
Yeah.
Slightly lower without it. Anyway, I like to use those two countries as kind of the control, the average.
Sure.
Right? You
I
go down
like
the list.
South Africa sucks, but I thought it would be like in the negative. I thought you'd get like negative 100% or something of reported.
I guess fairly honest society.
Well, no, bullshit. I mean, just saying.
Okay. Well, this is not a flawed study.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
saying it
Sure.
surprised me. Maybe
Right.
everyone was in a good mood that day. I
Maybe
don't know.
that's
Maybe
how
they
it
just
works.
won the
That's
World
how these
Cup.
studies work, is anecdotal days.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's anecdotal, like just won the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. They picked that day
Yeah.
to make it look good.
Anyway, I'm just saying
Anyway,
it's a
Mexico-
good surprise. It's a good surprise. South Africa, actually 40% of wallets that were found were reported.
Yeah.
They probably dropped them all on the waterfront in Cape Town.
Here we go again.
Anyway,
You
I'm
need
just-
to find it. So what you're saying is that the study is negated and we can't pay attention
I'm
to
just
it.
playing devil's advocate.
Sure.
Of course, it's a correct study.
Right.
I just doubt they dropped them in, I don't know, a township or something.
Where people need money, like a poor area.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like in America if they dropped, but they would have been controlled. They probably
Sure.
dropped some in the poor area, some in
It
the rich
was.
areas.
It was
right?
very well
Yeah.
controlled.
Then it's fair.
Anyway, Mexico is the only country Mexico and Peru were the only countries where if the wallet had money, it was more likely to be kept.
Right.
than if it didn't have money. I thought that was weird. But the most interesting part of this is that China is dead last, with less than 10% of people reporting the wallet if it didn't have
That looks
money.
more like about 6 to 7%.
Maybe 6 or 7%. And then about 21% reporting if it did have money.
Yeah.
Which was not shocking at all for someone that lived in China. I've had my wallet stolen multiple times there. And there's a bystander syndrome in China where if you see something, it's not your problem. You ignore it. I imagine a lot of these wallets were completely ignored.
Yeah, they normally are.
But again, these are only the ones that were interacted with, right?
Yeah.
So very, very low on this. And again, I have to attribute this to a government's problem because you have China, which is the least charitable country in the world.
That's not just, you're not just saying that, it's true.
No, it's true.
Like,
it is the least.
when it comes to donating,
it's battling it out with Greece.
Yeah, when it comes to donating to
Greece?
charity, it doesn't happen in China. Charities aren't really a thing.
Yes. So you have that paired with this, paired to the whole lack of Good Samaritan situation in China. And the issue is the government tells people that it's not their problem.
Yeah.
And in fact, they incentivize people not to take matters into their own hands because people will oftentimes get the short end of the stick. They'll be blamed for whatever problem there is. So you don't help people.
That's what I was going to say, is that in China, if you were to go and try to go to the police to report it, it would probably cause you so much hassle.
Yes.
You'd be held responsible. Maybe they'd try to blame you for stealing the wallet,
Sure.
They'd want you to fill out paperwork. There'd be a whole thing. So a lot of people want to avoid that.
Right.
I mean, dude, I remember there was once I was riding my little e-bike around in near where I lived in Shenzhen, and there was a bridge, and there was a dude, like a homeless dude with no clothes on, standing on the top of the bridge about to jump off of it, okay? It was a bridge going over the highway. So
Was it over troubled water?
It was over a troubled highway.
Troubled highway.
So I rushed to the nearest police station.
Yeah.
And I was like, ran up.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm like, in my poor broken Chinese, I'm like, there's a man standing on the bridge there, Mayo Ifu, like no clothes. He's going to tiao, he's going to jump. And they were like, that's not our jurisdiction. That's not our. It was just down the road. I literally went. It was like a 2-minute. Yeah, exactly. They were like, meh, not my problem. I was like, what the. I went back and the dude wasn't there anymore. I don't know what happened to him. But
did you look down?
Yeah, I did.
Did you look up?
Yeah, I looks up. Yeah, but I was very disappointed that was the attitude that China had.
Yeah, for sure. And the issue is there's a lot of countries on here. And again, I would like to combat your whole... I know your preconceived notion is maybe if it was in a poor area, there'd be more people taking it. And I would probably... That's the natural instinct to think that. But a lot of these countries are poorer than China.
Yeah.
China ranked lower than that. And I think that's interesting to look at.
Oh, no, I fully agree with that. And it's a combination of what we were talking about. It's the fact that if you do anything in China that's out of the ordinary, you can just ruin your life.
Yes.
That's why people don't step in to help when someone is in desperate need, like drowning or being run over by traffic. I did video about that recently. My video is called China is not safe.
Yeah.
Definitely watch that if you want to know about this. It's a terrible situation that when people actually want to help, they get punished. So people do not help.
Yes.
And it's led to one of the most awful societies to ever be in an emergency in.
That's correct.
If you are a woman by yourself and you're being beaten up by a gang of thugs or whatever, no one's going to step in.
As you see.
As what happened.
By the way, update on the beating.
Yeah, the main guy got some...
sentenced to 24 years in jail. But the most interesting thing is what people aren't talking about. China's using it as a propaganda victory to say, look at how harshly we sentence people.
Yeah.
Turns out there were 8 local officials involved in trying to basically get them out of it.
Yeah.
And if it didn't go viral on Chinese media and then on Western media, nothing would have happened.
No.
Nothing happens in these areas where you have local connections.
Yeah, so the local police did not investigate the case at first. They refused to investigate the case. They weren't going to do anything.
Because they're involved with criminals.
Yeah, and if the, like you said, if it hadn't gone viral, and there wasn't that much attention on it, it would have disappeared. The women would have been beaten to death and no one would have cared.
That's what's so scary about outside of main Chinese cities. The local police that are in charge of everything, right, are oftentimes completely in bed with criminal gangs.
Yeah, they are.
They're the same thing. So think about if something happened, if you're a victim of something, Why do you think nothing happens?
When I was in Shenzhen, I was sitting in a place where you could get a foot massage downstairs. I used to go all the time. It was like 25 RMB or whenever I got there. It's really cheap. So me and my buddy, we used to go sit there. You even get like a
Those
free
outdoor ones?
No, it's like indoors.
Oh, okay.
But like how it works is you walk into the bottom and then they've got all those chairs where you sit down and you can look out onto the street.
Right. The window ones.
Yeah,
like where you get an IV. Like in those,
yeah, exactly.
hospitals.
But it's super nice. You could sit there. They give you a free cup of like coffee, but it's like instant coffee.
Yeah, Nescafe.
I actually made a bunch of videos way back. If you want to go look at my terrible editing and video skills, I filmed those foot massage places. I used to love it. Whenever friends would come over or visit me in China, or whenever I met subscribers, I'd take them to these places because it's cheap and you get like a 45-minute foot massage and all that kind of stuff. But upstairs they had dodgy stuff going on, obviously, right? So one day I'm sitting there having a foot massage and a huge, like a swarm of police come in and they all like rush upstairs. Next minute I see a manager run out. He goes and buys like a tower of Wang Laoji, Wang Laoji, Jiao Dou Bao, we've spoken about that.
Herbal tea.
Yeah, it's like a tea, and he ran up the stairs to give them all their tea, and they did their little chat up there, and the cops then just kind of sauntered out a little later, all looking real happy, and everything was taken care of. They obviously paid their bribe or whatever it was, and nothing happened.
Yep.
That's kind of how it works. The cops are criminals.
Yes. Absolutely.
For the majority, and especially in the smaller towns, because the incentive for them to be good is very low. The paycheck is super low in China for a policeman. Like, it's really bad. Like, your average cop gets paid nothing.
No, you have to make money elsewhere. Also, if you try to be the good cop, then you're the one that gets nailed to the cross.
Yeah, all your other bad cop buddies are going to be
done.
like,
you're done. It's like government officials. Even if you're a really good government official, you want to join the CCP, you want to be the good guy. If you don't get involved with the bad stuff, I'm saying 100% of the time, by the way. Yeah. If you don't get involved in some degree with the bad stuff, then you're the outsider that's going to rat people out. And then people will nail you to the cross.
Yeah, they'll get rid of you.
Anyway.
It's kind of like, when you're in a bunch of people and everyone's drinking and then there's that one guy who's a teetotaler and everyone's just like, can this guy piss off?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he's ruining the mood. Get him out of here.
He's ruining the mood.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, stop.
Okay.
I wanted to say one more thing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm very curious about Peru. Because it's the only country where both were exactly the same. Someone's like, this wallet has money, this wallet doesn't have money. I want both.
Yes.
Give me that wallet.
Yeah, I mean, it's 11%.
It's equal.
Yeah. I remember there were a lot of money scams in China a while ago. Do you remember that scam that was going around where somebody would put money on the ground?
Yeah.
So they would put like I don't know, 300 RMB, 500 RMB, and then if someone picked it up, and then they'd run up and say, "Oh, that's mine.
That's mine. I dropped it."
And they're like, "Okay, here." And then they're like, "No, there was 1,500 here.
Yeah.
You've taken the rest."
No, they even get the police involved.
Then they get the police involved, and so I think the reason why the ones with money were returned more is they probably thought, "Oh shit, this is probably a scam. I got to get rid of this right now." Report it straight away.
That was a common scam.
That was a common scam. It was freaking annoying.
It was less about you seeing it in real life, but people talked about it a lot. So it was obviously happening.
When I was working at this one ESL training center, we super glued a 1 RMB coin to the tiles outside the building.
We used to do that at quarters in America.
Okay, it was kind of funny to see the amount of people that try to pick it up and
hilarious. We do it outside like a McDonald's or whatever.
Yeah. Oh well,
funny.
Good fun.
Funny as hell.
Good fun. Anyway, stupid little prankish nonsense. What's going on? Isn't this wonderful? What do we got here? I love this.
Some buildings in Chengdu. I thought this was mad dystopian.
There is one thing. I've been going through a lot of my footage. I filmed a lot. And there's a very, very cool aesthetic that you can find in China. And it's something that I like a lot, is that kind of dystopian, cyberpunk kind of feel. Because you can film the most filthy, disgusting, dirty, rundown building, and then right next to it'll be like a shiny skyscraper.
Yeah.
And that, what do you even call that? That duality, that, the contrast between the two. Yeah, the juxtaposition, that's the word I'm looking for. Between the two is really cool, and it's very dystopian. It's not something that's nice. You don't.
I don't like that.
I like it
Puts
because
me in a bad mood.
I'm a big fan of cyberpunk and dystopian future type stuff. So for me, I enjoy the aesthetic a lot. Right. It's not fantastic to live in that aesthetic, though.
No, you just like to look at it.
Yeah, and it's nice to film. So this kind of almost ticks the boxes, but unfortunately, all the red and that gold stuff makes it look too tacky. So it doesn't meet that cyberpunk look. You need more neon colors, and you need like a drizzle, maybe a hover car.
not for that reason at all.
Okay, so what is the reason you have this in here?
Just celebrating like 100 years of the party. Anyway,
Yeah.
the point I did was the comment attached to it someone
Right.
sent me. I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because this is bragging. This is
Yeah.
showing how advanced it is,
Oh,
China
yeah.
is, and it's because of the party.
Mhm.
And the comment attached to it said, it was obviously maybe some sort of redneck or something. He said, I don't know about you there in Chengdu, but I'm in my little, redneck town in Alabama, and I can go to my faucet and drink the water, and I know you can't.
No,
so
no.
how developed are you?
Yeah, not in that fancy building. And that's something people do overlook, is that the sanitation systems in
Yep.
China.
Can't drink the water.
I mean, and I'm talking
Can't
about
flush
like
toilet
the
paper. You can't
the
flush toilet
No.
paper. In that building, you can't flush toilet paper.
No, you can't flush toilet paper. It's kind of disgusting and something
Yes.
a lot of people don't talk about. But in China, the majority of toilets, they have a little bin next to it.
With shit toilet paper. in it.
And you wipe your ass and you
Yeah.
throw the dirty
Shit.
toilet paper in the bin.
Yes.
You don't flush
Sometimes
it down
it's
the toilet.
open. Sometimes the bin's open.
But it smells bad either
Yeah, it
way.
smells like shit because there's shit toilet
Yeah,
paper in there.
so even in like
from lots of people mixed together.
Yeah, even in fancy hotels and stuff, you get that. So
Yeah.
just so you know, the plumbing in China sucks. The drainage sucks too.
Oh, everything flood. Like in the city, I lived in a very developed city up north.
Yeah.
And when it would rain, it was dry. When it would rain, the entire city would flood, and it was almost just accepted. It wasn't like, wow, it was just accepted.
Yeah, I mean, down in Guangdong,
No,
happened
that
all the
was
time.
common. But
Yeah.
I'm saying in a place that doesn't even rain. It barely rained, and it would
Yeah.
flood. Barely.
Well, look at that horrible situation where everyone drowned in that tunnel.
Yeah.
Thousands
Yeah.
of people, and they said 3. Yeah, it's just not good.
Yeah.
Drainage is bad. Sanitation's bad. Like the plumbing's bad. You get it. It's bad.
People are shocked by the shit bins, the communal shit bins.
Oh, they are.
That's very
Look, it's
common.
actually super gross.
It's
because
wicked gross.
When you go into a toilet, and it could be in a building in a city, and it could
Yep.
be in a semi-rural place. It doesn't matter where. And you see that bin, and there's like some
shit
yellowy brown shit paper, like, and it's facing you. That's really gross.
You look at it. You have to look at it, smell
Yeah,
it,
yeah, it's
and
disgusting.
then you have to add to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
move on.
I got a story about one of those bins. I tell you what. Don't know if I
We
should.
all have bins. Shit.
I
bin
don't know if I
stories.
should tell the story. Maybe I should tell the story. I'll tell the story.
Why don't
So-
you tell it in Yamcha?
Okay, remind me.
I
I'll tell
will,
you the
I will.
shit bin story in Yamcha because
Sure.
it's quite a story. I'll tell you, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Brings back awful memories. Yeah, shit bin stories for Yamcha. And that cool clip where all these, like,
See? Are you
this stuff's going to
convinced?
come from. Don't worry, we got more of those.
What do you want?
Anyway, let's move on. Now, something that's actually an awful bit of news over here, but we have to talk about it. This happened last week. Is that a bus crashed. Now, think about this. One person was positive in a building, okay? So because that one person was positive, they rounded everybody up in the building, including 26 people that were not positive,
Yeah.
okay? And they tested negative, but so what? Because one person was positive in that building, you're all going to quarantine camp. Get on this bus. They drive.
Get on the bus.
Get on the bus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they start beating them up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they get on the bus. They drive. Bus crashes. 27 people killed, and another 20-something were injured because there was like 40-something people on that bus.
Yeah.
How dumb is that? What a waste of life. People do not want to go to these quarantine camps. They've tested negative. They've been good. They've been doing their tests. They've been staying at home. One person tested positive in the building. They load everyone up on a bus. Bus crashes. Half the people in the bus die.
Yes.
Isn't that stupid?
Yes.
Doesn't it show you how dumb?
Unnecessary.
It's so dumb because none of those people would have died from COVID anyway. You know what I mean?
No,
They
of
would
course
not have.
not. No.
It's like a cold. It's like the flu these days.
Yeah.
What a load of crap. This is the absurdity of China's zero COVID policies. Unnecessary deaths that are happening all over the
very
place.
unnecessary.
Not only this, it's the people that haven't been able to get medical care, the people that have starved in their, the old people who can't use apps and stuff, starved to death in their apartments, all this other nonsense, suicides, all that
Right.
crap. It's really like a dumb thing. This should be a massive embarrassment for China and the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
It should be their most embarrassing thing ever.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's going to be no one to pay the piper.
No.
No.
No, not at all. Anyway, let's move on from that rather depressing news. Stupid nonsense. I guess we're going to do a super chat before we do worldview.
Sure.
All right, let's do a super chat or two.
A possible person says, I suffer from cooties and I've never been at high risk of anyone touching me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mackenzie, I already read that. Treston Meacham says people should encourage state legislatures to ban Chinese companies from owning land in their states. Yes,
especially especially if they're connected to the government.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Zigil.
Well, all Chinese companies are connected to the government, actually.
Unless you can prove otherwise.
Yeah.
Valhalla Spare Bus Driver says, I knew that imported Chinese bus bodies weren't known for strength. However, none of our locally built buses ever managed to fall ill due to COVID.
Yeah. It's so dumb. Like, seriously, a mirror? Like, what? Like, they did truck tires, remember? You know, those trucks hauling, like, construction material and stuff. We did that, and they were, like, testing the truck tires. Remember that for COVID?
Yes,
like, what nonsense is that?
Jen Hall says,
what do they have against vehicles?
I don't know. I love Chinese cinema of the late 80s and early 90s, like Raise the Red Lantern by Judo. Yeah, me too. That was my favorite time period, too.
Yeah, especially Hong Kong stuff.
Yeah. Does anything they make now rise to that level of sophistication? Absolutely not. It's mostly xenophobic bullshit.
Yep.
I miss Tam from Ziegel. Okay. Mackenzie Dravid says, in reference to the Xi Jinping under house arrest, says, I hope it turns out to be a so-called rumor.
Yes, in other words, true. Yeah.
Norman Ferris says, while I enjoy a pineapple cake, I wonder how long until the CCP betrays Russia to reclaim some of their territory, unless she was arrested. Yeah, who knows? Catherine Gillen, I'm in the UK and our banks have added new TCs and stated if economic markets affect the banking system, they will limit our accounts and charge us if there's too much in the account. Now London Finance runs LIBOR that runs worldwide.
I don't know what that is.
Look into that. Thank you for the info.
But yeah, I'll tell you that in South Africa, there's all sorts of funny things with the government freezing accounts at the moment. If people cannot prove that they're permanent residents and stuff.
Yeah.
They've been doing that to Zimbabweans a lot. It's really unfortunate.
Wow.
I got a lot of Zimbabwean friends. And, you know, like...
I got a Zimbabwean friend. I'll have to ask him.
Grew up with him. You know?
Jerry Huang says, Reddit once banned my account for 3 days after I exposed some hate messages I got for being anti-CCP, claiming it was harassment. So absurd. Yeah, they will go after you, Jerry.
Yep, we all have to watch out for that. That's one of their major tools is they use...
Major tool?
Yeah, exactly. They harass people and then they use the anti-harassment tools of all these websites to try and silence anyone.
That's right.
Anyway, let's move on. Worldview, where we talk about everything in the world, specifically with regards to China. And man, oh man, do we have some projection for you this time. What do we got going on here, C-Milk? What are we looking at? NSA, USA, CIA, MSNBC, FBI. What else can we say? Like, I don't know, and put out a...
DOD.
Yeah. What do they call when someone... APB.
ATF.
Exactly. Whatever, right? Lots of acronyms going on here.
There isn't. That was completely unnecessary. There's only one acronym, and it's NSA.
Okay. Whatever. USA, NSA.
Okay.
NSA of the USA.
The NSA
is MIA.
Is MIA? Yes. Yes. National Security Agency, right?
Right.
They have been accused by China of having hacked their telecommunications network. And they did it.
Wait, that sounds like
no shit. Of course it does, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. A hacking technique where a malicious link was included in an email, so just a phishing link.
Just a phishing link, yeah.
Was sent to a government-funded university, which is all universities in China, Northwestern Polytechnical University in Xi'an. They exploited some vulnerabilities by sending a phishing link, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, considering they still run Windows XP, it's probably very easy.
No problem.
Yeah,
right?
No problem. There we go.
So the NSA had the very grand idea of saying, you know what, there's this little university in Xi'an. This Polytechnical University, by the way, is at the bottom in China. We're gonna go through there. We're gonna get access to everything.
We're gonna hack the telecommunications through the university's Windows XP like desktop.
Yes.
Okay.
Like the admissions board.
Yeah.
This is what China is claiming they got.
Okay.
American hackers through the NSA, by the way, not like anonymous.
No.
American hackers stole core technology data that included key network equipment configuration, network management data, and core operational data. So just basic bullshit that would be in the university, right?
This sounds like, I used to set up networks for corporations back in the day. You've got your network operations, say your NOC or whatever, and you set out, okay, we're going to have like an SQL server, an Exchange server, or this or that or whatever, like some NetWare or something. And this is how this sounds like. Oh, they got our network configuration, so they now know that we have 3 servers and 5 workstations and a network printer.
That's what they're claiming. However,
okay,
you want to see where this goes?
Sure.
I'll show you the lack of kind of thought process, the lack of like planning in their public statement here, because this is what they said.
Right.
After they stole that, right?
Right.
Well, the reason they stole that is part of the NSA's hack. The agency infiltrated Chinese telecommunications operators so that the U.S. can control China's infrastructure.
Wow. I mean,
that's the allegation.
Maybe they can like remotely turn off that printer.
Yeah, it's just, they can
like,
print
you've
out,
controlled our
like pictures
structure.
of butts.
Yeah, come on.
That's, by the way, I guess China's entire economy and infrastructure runs off of like black and white photocopies of butts.
Yeah.
Because
Seriously,
that's what
though,
they can control.
If
hack
there was
happened.
even a sliver of truth to this would mean that they are so dumb
Yes.
that they would have their university whatever computer that someone can click a link on is now linked to their core infrastructure.
Yes.
What in the
It's
do
like
they have
NSA at USA.gov sends like local singles in your area, Xi'an, 30 miles away, and it's got a picture of like a MILF.
Yeah.
And somebody clicked that, and now China's infrastructure is done. Basically.
Yeah, because
it's over.
The main nuclear power like control board is inside the university.
Yes.
But you know,
I mean, it sucks that they had to hide all of this. All of China's infrastructure is in this Xi'an university.
Yeah, yeah.
Why would they put it
Such
there?
A crock of shit.
Crazy.
You know, but remember, what was it? The whole train system in which city was it? Like a big city died because Adobe Flash stopped being supported or whatever.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes. Scott has a good point. They can turn off all the printers and put them on eco mode, and then they can make them use all their ink and toner faster.
They better not update the firmware, otherwise HP will be like, you may not use your printer unless you use only original stuff.
Because it's all fake.
It's all fake,
It's
yeah.
all rip-offs.
Yeah. I mean, come on, China.
man.
They just need an excuse to vilify the USA.
Yes.
And there it is right there.
Yeah.
China, the number one, other than maybe Russia, like hacking country that dedicates so many resources to hacking. They've stolen, it's been proven, like DOD secrets on the F-35 and all the military stuff. China has stolen and then built the stuff. So it's not like, oh no, we didn't steal that. No, they stole it and then they built it. So you're like, oh, you did steal that, didn't you?
Yeah.
You know
I
what
just
I mean?
want everyone to know, be very careful. If you get any sort of, emails that say local MILFs in your area and it's from the NSA.gov,
Yes.
don't click that because they'll change your printer settings.
Yeah, I know. Better watch out for that. Anyway, so other than this hack the planet shit, cookie virus nonsense that we've had to deal with over here, what have we got next?
This is actually, not related to hacking, but related to actually what happens when a country has nefarious goals.
Yes. Okay. Now explain what's going on here.
So over the past 20 years,
Yes.
right?
Arsenian,
yeah, right. So if we talk about this program that the U.S. has, in general, what the U.S. does is attract talent because the U.S. is a more appealing country, right, than other countries. So you'll attract countries' best talent. You'll bring it over.
Why do you think I'm here?
Exactly, right? You're talented.
The best talent South Africa has to offer.
All right,
Just
you're
kidding.
showing your connections.
I'm just
now.
kidding.
Woo!
Yeah. No, but seriously,
Well, it's the CIA. No, you wouldn't be here if you're in the
It's
CIA.
true. Like the whole point of me wanting to move to America is
Sure.
because it's better.
Yeah.
No joke, like it is. It's
Of course.
better than South Africa. It's better than China. I mean, the lifestyle, the way of living, what's available. It's
a
just
better place to be.
Better for me anyway.
Sure. Now,
Yeah, I guess if you're a sadomasochist, you'd love to stay in the developing
wanna be in
world
that
if you
Chengdu.
had that choice. But that's why
you want shit bins.
that's why you get people, and I'm going to put myself and lump myself into that, who work incredibly hard to make it to the developed world.
Yeah, you're from a
Whether-
developing country.
Yeah, I'm from Africa. Okay, all right. To get to places like the UK or America or Australia or Canada, you get people who work their asses off. If you're born in these countries, you're just a privileged person born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You really are. You just don't realize it.
Sure.
But people that work really hard. So next time you see an immigrant family in your neighborhood, don't be like, these damn immigrants. They've worked super hard to get there.
I agree.
All right, so that's what makes America good, like you say, is that people want to move here.
Yeah.
So people who have the drive and the talent and the ability to work incredibly hard, make it here.
Yes.
Or people that are really good at jumping over walls anyway.
Yeah.
At least that's what you'd think if you listen to the news. But
Sliding down snakes.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is...
That's a Shaban Ho joke.
Yeah, it is
You'd
a
have to
Shaban
be
Ho
there
joke.
to know
Yeah.
it.
The fact of the matter is, you're right. So scientists and so on, they come to America because it's better than being in Soviet Russia, for instance.
Correct.
And then what do they do?
When that existed.
Yeah, so what do they do here once they escape the communists from the Iron Curtain or whatever the case? In my case, it'd be like the Burvos Curtain or whatever. You get past there, the bamboo curtain, you get here, you're like, yeah, I'm in the land of the free. What do you do?
Well, let me tell you what happened.
But what do you do? You're here. You're like, what I'm going to do? Like what? I'm going to eat a hamburger. No, what do you do?
You work.
Yes, you work.
Yeah,
and you work hard.
I appreciate your aside, but I was literally in the middle of trying to say what happened.
Yeah, but we have to set it up, right?
Right, but now you're like asking me weird questions.
It's not. What do you do? You work hard, right?
Right.
And
so
you
back
can't,
on track here.
But before anyone continues, like if you want to know how difficult it is to stay in America when it comes to immigration, it's tough. You need to prove that you're worthy of being here. So you have to work hard. You have to make a name for yourself. You have to contribute.
Yes.
You know? And if you don't contribute, then you're out of here.
Yes.
Basically. So that's what you're saying is people come here, scientists and so on, and they contribute.
Yeah.
Greatly. They bring
Absolutely.
talent. They bring
For sure.
talent. They bring ideas.
In fact, one of the heads of the program said that Chinese talent was incredibly important to a lot of these programs.
Yeah, very smart people.
However,
yeah,
over the past 20 years, at least 154 Chinese scientists who worked on U.S. government projects, so federal projects, right? In the foremost national security office, right?
Yeah.
Turned out to have been poached back into China by the Chinese government with grants up to $1 million for some of these people.
Yeah.
And it was a systematic effort of the 1,000 Talents program going to find people that have already worked on these very sensitive projects and said, now it's time to come home and bring them back.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's a huge, huge issue because it flies in the face of, well, it's good enough for them here, so they're going to stay here. That changed because now the packages are so appealing to make them come back with that information that China's offering outlandish, lavish packages to these people to come home. Set them up and protect them and everything.
Yeah, it's not even coming home. They have a...
Not home, I should say.
No, I mean, no, you can say that, but it's not even that. They have a saying in China that these guys that are very, like, anti-America, they're like, make a career hating America, but live in America.
But live in America,
because that they make their money by hating America, or they make their money by talking shit about America, but then they actually live there because they actually prefer living there.
Yeah.
So you'll get the most vocal critics of America, their families and their houses, and it's all in America.
Yep.
You know, there's that kind of thing. So what happens is that this 1,000 Talents program doesn't only go after Chinese people, by the way.
No.
It goes after everyone.
No. There are Americans implicated in this, non-Chinese Americans.
They use LinkedIn specifically. And so let's say they're looking for, I don't know, some technology for a submarine they're developing, and they're looking for a sonar system or something. They will go onto people's LinkedIn and search for electrical engineers, sonar engineers, people that work on submarines. Because, people normally list all that, the companies they work for, and they're an engineer and this and that, and then they will actually start talking to them. Oh, we got a business opportunity for you, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you work for Raytheon. Great. How about we have a little meeting here? It's like, you know what? We're going to give you $1 million in your own research facility in China.
And we'll protect you.
And we'll protect. All you need to do is, share some of the advancements that you've helped make anyway.
We know people that were approached, actually.
Yeah, we do. So that's
many
how
of the
works.
Scientists that were lured back into China, this is what they were actually poached for. Deep Earth penetrating warheads, hypersonic missiles, quiet submarines, and drones.
There we go.
And
all
again,
war stuff.
There were non-Chinese Americans implicated in some of these, the people that got caught. And it's just because China is offering this sheer amount of money China is offering to get this information. And why would China have such a different trajectory in their ambitions? Well, it's not like 20 years ago when this started, right? There was a bit of partnership, and China wasn't treated like a suspicious entity, right? Because China was doing its own thing. It was kind of liberalizing in many ways. And now China's ambitions have been to close off like North Korea and use all the technology that's stolen for military ambitions.
Correct.
So it's a very bad situation we're in. And there was a quote, I believe, I can't remember who it was, but it said that we're utterly unprepared for dealing with China in its current state,
Yeah.
with their current ambitions, and we have to regroup.
I do believe that the Western world, and America in particular, has been very unprepared and has basically just not seen what's been happening in its backyard for the longest time. And
It's changing now.
It is finally, but it's all this Confucius Institute shit. It's all these United Front shit. It's everything to do with the language barrier that prevents people from seeing what's going on. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of crap going on, undermining American society and so on at the behest of the Chinese Communist Party. And it's about time people paid attention to it. Hopefully our show helps shine the light on some of this stuff so that people can see what's going on.
Yeah, for
sure. You know what I mean? The CCP is a nasty, crafty government, you know?
Yeah.
So
now let's get into Yumcha.
All right, we're going to get into Yumcha. So let's do it, guys. For those of you who don't know what Yumcha is, this is our Q&A section of the show. You can watch it now live. You can watch it over the weekend. On Monday, we cut it out of the show because, you know, the show would be too long for people to watch otherwise. And also, it gives you a little incentive to watch it now.
Yeah.
Promised you some